Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to Retold, a Harry Potter podcast. This is a show for Potter fans of all sorts to tune in and have fun living in the wizarding world just a little more. My name is Barry, and every week I sit down with a new guest host and we go through the Harry Potter books 2 chapters at a time. We also have some fun segments filled with trivia, lore, movie changes, and favorite lines. And at the very end of the episodes, we have a spoiler section called the Restricted section. Ooh. This week, though, we don't really have any of that. This week is actually going to be a good bit different from all of our other episodes because we actually have just finished going through Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So this episode, if you couldn't tell from the title, is a best of book 1 episode. So what you're about to listen to is me and my 2 good friends and past guest hosts, Emily and Jessie, sit down and talk about some of our favorite things in book 1. And I hope you love book 1 because we go through a lot. We talk about our top 5 favorite lines of the book, our favorite chapters, favorite characters, the best and worst movie changes, and so much more. Just some house elf-keeping things before we get started. First, right off the bat, I want to apologize for the audio quality in this episode. It's not bad. It's just that we weren't in that friendly of a recording environment, and I had to do a good bit of editing work, and it's not as good as the last couple of episodes. And so I hate to have that be a thing, but like I said, it's not terrible. I just like to give you guys the best stuff. But good news is that we still have an absolutely amazing conversation. If you love Harry Potter, I think you'll love what we have to say. And after next week, we will officially be in season 2, book 2, where all my audio equipment gets upgraded a lot. And so I'm excited to share that with you as well. Also, there's one point in the episode where I misquote one of my favorite lines, and I decided just to keep it in because I sound very silly, so enjoy that. And finally, it's a running bit throughout the episode that Emily and Jessie have the same favorites, but Emily just happens to say it first, and it makes for some good goofs. I say that here just so you know that if you hear us randomly laugh at all, that is usually the reason why. Anyway, that's all I got. Normally, this is the part where I tell you to rate and review the episode, and you definitely should. But instead of saying that here, I'm actually going to tell you what your Quizzitch answer was from last week. Why am I doing that? It's because this episode will open with Quizzitch, the final competition for book 1 of who knows more about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, me or the world. So the epic conclusion to season 1. That's where we start this episode. So no intro or anything like that. It's just right into Quizzitch. And so Jessie asks you guys what your Quizzitch question is for this week. But to answer the question for last week, I'll do that right here. So anyway, your question for last week was, when Harry lies to Professor Quirrell about what he sees in the Mirror of Erised, what does he say that he sees? In other words, what is the lie that Harry tells when he looks in the Mirror of Erised? The answer to that is that he says he sees himself shaking hands with Albus Dumbledore and holding the house cup. So there you go. That was your Quizzitch question for last week. Hope you got it right. And now, without further ado, enjoy the episode.
Let's see. I know. Hufflepuff.
I don't care how big they are! Can we find all this in London?
If you know where to go. Not that you need it, eh, Potter?
Wingardium Leviosa. Wicked.
Last word is Caput Draconis.
This is light.
Thought you ought to know.
Well, moving on now to the most important section, Quizzitch. People may be surprised about this. Here's the thing. We ended the season all tied up. Now, technically, there was a kerfluffle. I won, but I had to remove that episode that put me above because the audio was terrible. That's the one I re-recorded. And then the person that came in, tied me, and that kept the score the same all the way through. There was one moment where I wasn't sure if a guest actually was asking me a question intentionally or not. And I got it right, but I'm still not sure. So technically I might have lost, but I gave so many people so many answers. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give me some grace here.
Yeah. I know. I think you gave a lot of grace to others. So.
Right. And so coming down to this one, this will be what decides it. The final who knows more about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, me or the world?
The world.
And, women run the world, so you guys represent.
Oh my god. Russia is getting worse.
Worser?
Yep.
Is that a quote for
It's a meme.
But anyway, so what we'll do is I will ask my question first. Jessie, do you have like 10 questions like normal?
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to decide. I didn't have because for everyone, Barry only gave me like 2 days notice on this episode.
I did. I messaged her 2 days ago.
Much time to prepare, so I was not able to reread the whole book like I typically do. So I only read half of it.
I'm gonna edit all this out so you don't know nothing.
Yeah, so I have a couple new questions, but then like I told you, I had like 30 questions from the time before. So I was just rereading through those and figuring, but I'm gonna go hard on you.
I want you to give the audience their Quizzitch question.
Ooh.
So based from your list, we'll do that.
Okay.
But I have 4 questions, and here's how it's gonna work. Because you guys are both amazing, and I mean, you don't quite remember things as well, but because you're such big fans, with Ryan and Austin, the only other time I had 2 people, they got to help each other. You don't get to help each other.
No.
All right.
No.
There's one question I might allow it, but first I'll direct intentionally at each one. And so these, I would say, there's like supreme god tier hard level.
Yeah.
Then there's like a little bit below. I'd say maybe 2 or 3 below that is what I have.
Okay.
I didn't want to make it the worst. I wasn't gonna.
I know that's I could obviously give you like a super obscure question to win it, but I want to do something that's more meaningful than that.
Exactly. So question number 1. This is all tied up for all the marbles. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Emily, for
or
you.
is it for all the gobstones?
All the I have my Birdie Bots every flavored beans.
Oh,
If we want to eat those, if we get a wrong answer.
those things scare me. I would do it for the sake of the pod, but
We could do it.
Let's do it. I don't know if they're expired either, so
Oh, yummy.
they might be stale. Okay, so this is how it'll work. I'll ask you one, then you ask me.
Okay.
I'll ask you, then you ask me, and we'll do it like that. Emily, your question. What ghost greets the students at Hogwarts first? The very first ghost to greet them and speak to them. That's pretty good. That's not too hard. Yeah, that's all right. I'm like looking at her to confirm this, but she knows. I can tell.
I know. I wish I could help, but I can't.
Oh my gosh. You asked the goldfish brain person the hard question. I want to say it's. I know.
Can I give her a hint?
No, not a dang hint.
I'm like, I get the
I'm being
movies
stingy
and
now.
the books mixed too. So it's like, okay, I'm thinking it's Sir Nicholas.
Wrong. Do you know what the answer is?
It's a fat fryer.
The Fat Friar.
Okay, I was like, I think it's the Hufflepuff ghost, but I can't remember his name.
I would have counted if you just
yeah,
said
if you said the
Hufflepuff
Darn
Ghost.
it.
But there we go.
Wow.
Ooh, okay, ask me your question.
Okay. I made mine easy. Now I'm like, darn it. I
Well,
should
hold
know.
on. Yeah, none of these are easy. Only the last
Okay.
one's easy.
What chess piece did Hermione play as?
She played as the Queenside Castle.
That's correct.
Heck yeah.
Begrudgingly.
Let's go. Jessie, Ollivanders has been making wands since. This is my revenge for your numbers question.
I know. I'm not going to get. Okay, but you have to do what I gave you is give me 4 choices.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. All right. I would say, all right. Ollivanders making wands since 492 BC, 382 BC, 2016, or 236 BC.
It's 382.
It's
As soon as you
382.
said it, I knew that because I actually was going. I knew it was either 382 or 352. So
That's crazy. I thought about doing 1492.
1492 Columbus sailed
That's
the
right.
ocean blue.
So 1-1.
Okay.
Okay. Jesse,
All
a
right.
question for me.
Okay. Don't think this was already asked. I'm trying to because some of my questions that I made ended up being asked on later episodes, but I
Good.
don't think this was asked.
Good.
So where did Harry find Hedwig's name?
In A History of Magic.
Yes.
It was not asked. I just
Okay.
knew that.
Top of the dome.
All right. I am opening this up to both of you.
Oh.
So you both can answer this. In fact, both of these questions will be for both of you, the ones I have. So this one, give me the final score of any of the houses, their final point totals, any of them, any of the four.
472. Gryffindor.
I got to pull it up because I forgot.
Anyway.
I have it it's on my page, my copy. 3 and 5. We'll find out in 3, 2. You said, what'd you say?
472.
That's your final answer.
Yes.
That's incorrect.
No, really? Ah.
Slytherin had 472.
They were 482. Dang.
If you had said Slytherin, I would have counted.
Wait,
That's the
so
thing.
can I help her then because I know all the other house scores based on. Wait, no, I don't.
Is this like one question that's done? Now you're asking another question?
I'm saying it's done now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it wrong for the both.
If you know what, if you want it, I will allow grace. If you want to guess what either Hufflepuff's or Ravenclaw's score was, but since you already know Slytherin's and Gryffindor, it doesn't matter. But if you can, and yeah, it's open for both of you. If you can think of either Ravenclaw's or Hufflepuff's score.
Ravenclaws. I
keep seeing your tea steam, and I feel like the microphone is like, I was like, good God, what's going on over there?
It's so hot. Ravenclaw was in second, and I feel like it was around like 413, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. When I see numbers, I skip them with my eyes.
I know.
Well, since you're giving us grace anyway, we might as well guess that Ravenclaw had 413.
That's wrong. 426. I can tell you're furious. You're so mad.
I know, because
okay.
370.
Your question, Emily.
Oh my gosh, it's so easy. Okay. What flavor bean was Dumbledore scarred by?
He was scarred by vomit, but I'm going to say it's too easy, and I'm going to allow Jessie to ask me another question to make it a little more even.
Okay. Let's see. I
was unfortunate enough in my youth to come across a vomit flavored one.
This is a hard one. Okay, but I'm mad.
I know you're mad.
Actually, I have two really hard ones, but I'll give you what I think is the easier one.
Did you get? Oh yeah, you got your first one right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
yes.
Dudley once owned a pet and traded it for an air rifle. What was his pet?
Do you know this one? Oh my goodness. And this is in this book.
Mm-hmm.
A turtle?
Nope. Oh, but that was close because he threw his turtle.
Yeah, that's all I could think of. What did he own?
He traded a parrot for the air rifle.
yes. Rats.
Yeah, and the bird cage was in Harry's
Add
room.
a little more spice to this. So it's I have 2 right, and you have 2 right?
Yeah.
Or 1?
Wait.
No, 1 right.
One.
But you have 2 more. You have 1 more question.
Yeah.
So we could tie, or
Okay.
I could win.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Fantastic. What if we do it in a tie? Well, then we'll just call it. It's the split. It's the split book.
Yeah.
Your final question for both of you. Can you give me the name? And quit looking at your list right now. I'm still.
Well,
I feel like you might see it on your list.
Well, if it's on my list, I know the answer. I'm trying to figure out what question I'm going to ask.
Can you give me the name of all 3 centaurs?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Is it for either of us? Or?
It's for both of you. Yeah,
Okay. There's Ronan, Bane, and Friends.
Yep.
that's correct.
Yeah.
I thought you might not remember Ronan for some reason. I feel like he's the most forgettable.
He's got the quote.
The what?
The quote. One of my quotes.
Oh, does he? Okay. I thought you said the quo,
The
like
quo.
QUO, and I was like, is this some new slang term I don't know about?
I think the name Ronan is so cool.
Yeah,
So,
it really stuck out to me.
I
Actually.
think of that Taylor Swift song because she has that one
she
about,
does.
or it's like her like
It was
cousin or something that
It
died.
was a child that
It breaks my
away.
heart when I hear it.
Yeah.
I don't know any Taylor Swift songs except Love Story.
And that's a banger.
Yeah,
Oh my
it
gosh. Every white wedding you go to, they're playing
It's coming
that. Okay. Your final question then.
Okay. I don't want to ask you one too easy because I'm like, I have one.
Oh, we haven't been doing beans, y'all.
I know.
Oh,
I'm
I am.
Two or three.
Oh, this is Tutti Frutti for sure. Let me have this, and I can tell if it's expired. I don't think so. I had Tutti Frutti.
It's still stale.
I've gotten one wrong. So, what flavor did you get?
Cinnamon.
Okay. By the way, I have a plastic bag if you need to spit.
Okay, do I have to get one?
Yeah,
Do you choose or do I choose?
You don't look. Don't look. Just grab.
I definitely looked. I was like, give me the red 40 flavor.
I'm pretty sure that's rotten egg. There's your spit bag if you need it.
Butterscotch.
No way.
Yeah.
You mama bird that to me right now. I love butterscotch.
Yeah, that one's not that bad. Okay. I don't know that I've ever gotten a good party bun.
Butterscotch. She is really fishing for this.
I know, because I've got and half of them, like I said, half of them were already asked on the episode.
That's okay. And even better.
No.
Okay, I'll just do what is Nearly Headless Nick's full name. His full title.
It's like Sir Nicholas de Minzy, like Porpinson, Peterson, Porpinson. That's all I got.
So close.
Sir Nicholas de Minzy. I think that merits a half point. Let's hear the name.
Hey, I should get a half point for being within 10 and just mixing up Gryffindor and Slytherin.
I would say so, but I would say because of how close you are, but it was the score of a different house.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is Sir Nicholas de Mimsy Porpington.
Oh my God. Less than a syllable?
I'm only giving you half a point. Okay, you can have half a point.
Half a point.
Which means I win by a half a point.
But should we have a tiebreaker?
No, I'm better than the world. But we need the audience for this question. But by the way, I want to hear it. Good job, Barry.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm not giving it to you.
Tell me.
Okay, for the win, you have to get this. Then. This is my
I won.
Okay. What floor did Vernon Dursley work on in his building? The number of the floor. This is the one I wasn't going to do earlier, but now, you got to get it.
Now you're like, I hate you. The 13th?
The 9th.
9th. It doesn't matter. I won.
The audience's quizz's question is: do you agree that Barry has won?
That's right. You know what? I'll hang it up to that. If they say you might watch you guys be the only two that write in, definitely not.
Send in your little emails, y'all.
That's right.
You got this.
To answer that question, you can write into theretoldpodcast@gmail.com or message me on the Retold Podcast on Instagram.
I'll give the audience real quizzage question: is who did Hagrid kiss on the cheek during Christmas dinner?
Oh, that's a good one. I will have one of these though for my half long.
Okay.
Valid.
That looks good. I'm gonna. That's another good. Third time's the charm.
I know. I always take blue ones if I want a good one.
Listen, this is it. No, it's not grass. It's definitely green apple. There's another green apple for me. Yeah, it's green apple.
Oh,
They're a little rubbery.
I want to have this one then.
Because it's been open.
that's okay.
All right. How was y'all's flavors?
Yeah, green.
Were y'all's flavors? I want to
fruit.
Oh, well. Anyway. Man, now I got to choose so I don't get
it.
end up in there.
Yummy.
Okay. I'm going to drink my Mio Hydrate.
I feel like this is too hot to drink still.
Do you want a water?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Moving on. So this is, for this episode, I think the main chunk, we're going to cover a bunch of different things, but this main chunk right here, the main part of our discussion, we're going to get into our top 5 favorite lines of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The way it's going to work is we'll go around the table saying our number 5 and 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you have them ranked like that? I ranked mine like that, or did you just list 5?
I listed, but I didn't do it in order, so I do have an order, but
How about I'll go, and then Emily, and then we can get to you.
Okay.
So starting at number 5, I have it here. We'll probably have to edit some silences out. That's okay. But right here, love it so much. I tried to make it a recurring joke. It's from George from the From George in the Mirror of Error said, "You haven't got a letter on yours," George observed. "I suppose she thinks you don't forget your name, but we're not stupid. We know we're called Gredden Forge."
Yeah, I love that.
My top 5 is a mix of funny and like for realsies, kind of serious. And I think that's the funniest line of the whole book. It made me laugh so much. I think there might be funnier, but that one's memorable and it just sticks with you. Good. So that's my number 5. Emily, what's your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is from chapter 5, actually, Diagon Alley.
Diagon Alley.
I remember every wand I've ever sold, Mr. Potter. Every single wand. It so happens that the phoenix whose tail feather is in your wand gave another feather, just one other. It is very curious indeed that you should be destined for this wand, but its brother gave you that scar.
Just one.
Just one.
Why do you like that one?
I don't know. I like the mystery. It's like, ooh, like you're like plot point. Like let's put a pin in that and see what happens. I think it's just a really cool way of like introducing this like duality the two Voldemort and Harry have and what ties them together. One's deeper than what you think in the beginning. And this is that first little clue into it.
Yeah, and then you saying all that kind of reminded me, just a heads up for listeners, this is a spoiler episode. We will say spoilers that relate to the rest of the series. So I'm sorry if you were looking forward to a non-spoiler episode, but that's what we're doing today, just in case you didn't know. I love that scene. I always love the one mention close to it where it's not in my top 5 or honorable mentions, but the one where he said, like, we can expect great things from you because you know who did great things after all. Terrible, but great. And people are like, man, Ollivander's a freak. But I was like, I think he's legit. I like that line. Like that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
He was a powerful wizard. Like, was he a good person? No.
That's like saying, you know what? I'm not going to get into I got to leave, Barry. This. So Adolf. Jessie, what's your number 5?
All right, my number 5 is in the very beginning. I just love this imagery. And talking about when Harry first sees Hagrid, and she says, "He looked simply too big to be allowed, and so wild. Long tangles of bushy black hair and beard hid most of his face. He had hands the size of trash can lids, and his feet in their leather boots were like baby dolphins."
Just massive.
And I just love, because it's just her imagery and the way that she describes the characters is also vivid and creative. And you can picture, everyone has a picture of, like, maybe it's different because what do your feet looking like baby dolphins? What does that even mean? But yeah, somehow it works and it fits. And she does that with Dumbledore and McGonagall, and you can just see everyone so clearly. And I love the imagery that she uses. So that's one of my favorites.
It makes me think of in Universal, when you're in line for Hagrid's motorbike, when you get to there's like a lab area and there's a book laid out and there's a trash can next to it, like a trash can lid, and then his giant mitts next to it, and they're like the same size. And I was like, I think that's a direct reference to that line.
Yeah, that's cool. I've never noticed that.
My number 4, it would be, man, Barry, you should really flip to the page while the others are talking so you don't have to do this to them. This one right here, it's from chapter 13, Nicholas Flamel. This is going to sound odd. This is an odd favorite, but chess was the only thing Hermione ever lost at, something Harry and Ron thought was very good for her. I like that line so much because it's just like these books are full of good life advice stuff. And it's like, you don't need to be the best at everything. And she's amazing. The fandom gushes over her, and rightfully so. Lots of stuff to be praised about her. But I like this little call out here of just, and throughout the book, like I said, there's a bunch of good life advice, but this one especially of, it's good for you to lose. And that's okay. That's all right. So that's my number 4. Emily.
Okay. My number 4 comes from chapter 9. Iconic line, pretty much like a handout, but I hope you're pleased with yourselves. We could have all been killed, or worse, expelled. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to bed. Boom.
Man,
Does she not say the rest? Is that just a movieism?
Yeah.
Before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us
Yes,
out.
that's the movie.
Oh, that's at the beginning. That's at the beginning. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But she doesn't say that in the book.
Okay, so it's flipped. It's flipped.
Mhm.
Gotcha. But yeah, what were you saying?
I just think it's hilarious. Like, she needs to sort out her priorities. Like, that's not in the book either, but it's just like, yeah, you have a little chuckle. Like, she cares so much about school.
Yeah.
But that was one of my favorites, and I've come to I agree with Hermione. I agree with her priorities there.
Or worse, expelled?
Yes, because here's my rationalization.
No, shut up.
I will explain. So obviously, if you believe in life after death, I mean, you die. You hopefully go into heaven. Okay, that to me is not the worst thing. But to be expelled in that world, you have your wand snapped and have to live the rest of your life in disgrace, not able to do magic. And to me, it would be better to die.
No. I would much rather live a muggle life with my wife and kids and all that than just die right away.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
This is like spoken like a true Ravenclaw.
I thought perhaps I've thought about this before in this line of how could you justify Hermione? And the only thing I could think of is to say, well, certain people, if you die, you can become a ghost at Hogwarts.
No, I would not want to become a ghost. I'm
wouldn't
not
either.
here for more
I don't know,
life,
it'd be
man.
kind of fun.
Everybody's like, I don't know. I love it.
Being like a little like spooky, but like that's so nice.
A little stinker messing with the kids. That didn't sound good. Let's keep it going. I like your cat. Your little cat bookmarks, by the way. This is cute. You're number 4.
Okay, my number 4 is skipping all the way to the end. So when they have to do the trials to get to the stone, and one of them is Snape's, which is the potions. So there's a logic puzzle. And as we've said, I'm a Ravenclaw and I love logic puzzles. So this was one of my favorite parts of the book. And I love when Hermione let out a great sigh and Harry, amazed, saw that she was smiling. The very last thing he felt like doing. Brilliant, said Hermione. This isn't magic, it's logic. A puzzle. A lot of the greatest wizards haven't got an ounce of logic, and they'd be stuck here forever. And I love that because it's funny because so many people don't have logic, and that would be so true. And you think about these people who are really, really good at things and have a bunch of money, or, you know, like our amazing basketball players or can sing really well. They don't have any logic.
Yeah, they would not be saved in this moment for all their talent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would have been like Hermione. I would have been okay in that moment.
Do you think you would have figured it out?
Yeah.
I know we all sat there and like read the puzzle and was like, I'm going to do this. I mean, I figured it out on the DVD extras, the special features. So on to number 3. My third favorite line. It is right here. This is a little bit of an odd one, but and Nicholas Flamel, so same chapter 13 as well, right after they won the Quidditch match, he couldn't ever remember feeling happier. He'd really done something to be proud of. No one could say he was just a famous name anymore. I love that. I like that's such a good moment for him of the thing that, and we talked about this in our episode, but the thing that he's famous for, he doesn't even know why he's famous for. And so it is very much imposter syndrome is going on with him as far as his like self-confidence goes. And this is the first moment where he truly feels like I can accomplish. I'm worthy of some admiration. Like, and he's building up his self-confidence there. I almost thought about doing the one earlier, also Quidditch match where his friends put up the Potter for President thing and his heart like skipped a beat then because I love that too. But I went with this one because I just love that for him. Very happy for Harry in that moment. Emily, you're number 3. You're number 3.
Okay, my number 3 is from chapter 16, Through the Trapdoor. Right before Harry is about to face whatever's, on the other side. Me, said Hermione, books and cleverness, there are more important things. Friendship and bravery. And oh, Harry, be careful. I love that, especially in the movie, the way Emma Watson delivers it, so sweet. And it's like she's like I know you think I am so smart and I have all these capabilities, but you're brave. And that in itself is worth so much. And you have your own skill set. So whatever you face, you can handle it.
Yeah, and I like just before that when she says, Harry, you're a great wizard, you know?
Mhm.
Like, oh, he's so kind to him.
So good.
Very good. What's your name, Jessie? Been friends for years, and I just been blanking right now.
Okay, so my number 3 was the or worse expelled quote. And then I gave my reasoning for why I totally relate to Hermione in that. But I'll give an honorable mention in place of it since but this isn't another.
No, save your honorable mention for honorable mention round.
But
go ahead, fine.
Number 3. What's my number 3 then?
It's okay. You can share it. You can share.
We can have it
You
together.
can share.
Okay, you want me to share then? My number 3 was the or worse, expelled.
Yeah.
That line
It's
that
just
she
a
already
good
read
one.
stuff.
You
It is.
did.
It's a good one, and I'm like I said, I can relate in that moment. Like she is
She's
she
wrong.
was a muggle. She was a muggle, and she came from a muggle family, and then all of a sudden she finds out she's magical,
Mhm.
and like for her to then go and get expelled and have to live without magic, then I mean that'd be sad.
I'm gonna have a hard time forgetting your little puppy dog face. You're just gonna be like, but why did you say something? All right, but forget what you have to say. It's on to me and my number 2 from chapter 12. Again, so many from like late book, but chapter 12, the classic one. I have it on my pillow downstairs. Dumbledore, it does not dwell to do on dreams and forget to live. Remember that.
That's my number 1.
That's your number 1. It's such a good. How about I won't share much about it, and you can share your thoughts on it when we get to.
I probably have different thoughts than you, though. You can
Yeah.
share.
That's okay. We'll do it when we get there.
Okay.
Okay.
You're number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Okay, Barry the middle school boy.
It was really funny because like you knew what I meant right away, and you went.
Disappointed. But not surprised. Chapter 17, The Man with Two Faces. That's what this is from. There are all kinds of courage, said Dumbledore, smiling. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. I therefore award 10 points to Mr. Neville Longbottom. I love this moment. Obviously, because it rings true. Like, it's so hard to stand up to people who you respect and admire and love. It's almost, in a way, easier to stand up to people who you feel like are wrong. You know what I mean? So it's like Neville did this thing where he was brave in his own way, and Dumbledore acknowledged that, which I feel like Neville doesn't get acknowledged enough. So I love that moment because it's like it just explodes and everyone's on top of Neville and he's finally getting like his little moment. It's just so sweet.
And I feel like too, I don't know if they confirmed this in the book, but Neville hasn't won any house points the whole year.
they do
Yeah.
say that.
And that was like the first
Coming
time
in clutch.
he won house points.
It's like when I was in 2nd grade, I was on the church league basketball team, and I didn't score a bucket all season long. And in the final game, the team worked hard to get me that ball, and I scored after like throwing it up several times, like you do for the sick kid in these games. And I scored, and at the end of the game, they gave me the most improved award.
The pity award.
Jessie, what's your number 2?
All right, so this actually, I was debating between my number 1 and number 2, whether it was Dumbledore's quote or this one, but this is one of my favorite. Okay, so back to the end again with the Devil's Snare, and it's 217
Oh, yes.
for our book.
I know where this is.
And so Hermione's thinking how to get Ron and Harry out. And she's like, Devil's Snare, Devil's Snare. What did Professor Sprout say? It likes the dark and the damp. So light a fire, Harry choked. Yes, of course, but there's no wood, Hermione cried, wringing her hands. Have you gone mad? Ron bellowed. Are you a witch or not?
Heck yeah.
Oh, right, said Hermione. And then she, of course, whips out her wand and makes her little fire that she's used throughout the book. But I just think that's so funny. And then my favorite line, skipping down further, is Harry says, "Lucky you pay attention to herbology, Hermione," said Harry as he joined her by the wall, wiping sweat off his face. "Yeah," said Ron, "and lucky Harry doesn't lose his head in a crisis. There's no wood, honestly." And that is like one of my favorite lines. There's no wood, honestly. Yes. And that is a really good Ron moment that they took away from him in the movie.
Yes.
I love that so much. Because it really showcases, like, each one of these three has a strength. Mm-hmm. And in the book, they take a lot of the strengths and just give them to Hermione. Mm-hmm. But, Harry's the one who's good under pressure. Mm-hmm. Hermione's not. Yes. She has the brains.
And then too, in the movie, they just, like, because Ron is often so snarky and has these comebacks. And in the movie, he just said, like he panics in the devil's snare, which he does in here too. But then he falls out and he goes, lucky we didn't panic, which is much less of a, like, banger than there's no wood, honestly.
I think they really just made him a caricature of his extremes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they gave him like a kind of dunderhead personality a little bit because they wanted to give Hermione a few more lines where it really drives home how smart she is. But in doing so, they kind of sacrificed some of his character to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Our honorable mentions. So we have, I have three. So
what about number one?
Yeah, we didn't do one.
No, we'll do honorable mentions and then we'll say our number ones to tease the crowd a little more. That's right. I got that. So I've been listening. One of my new favorite podcasts right now is Tales from Godric's Hollow. It's a really, really funny Harry Potter podcast. And when they do rankings, this is how they do it. They do their top 5, but right before number 1, they do. So anyway, listeners, check out Tales from Godric's Hollow. I want to do this so bad. They do a March Madness tournament where they take like 64 wizards from the Wizarding, whatever, and they make a bracket and they face each other, but it's not in wizard duels. They have a little board, like a wheel that they spin, and that's the competition between those two. So it could be a normal wizard's duel, or maybe it's a muggle's duel. So it's like a fist fight between the two, or it's a Quidditch match, or it's and then they even have weird ones like a Riz competition or eating competition. I don't know, but it was a really fun episode. So anyway, listeners, check out Tales from Godric's Hollow. But my honorable mentions, I have 3. My first one is early on in the book when Hagrid is picking up Harry, and he's saying that, like, he's upset about Harry's been kept. The Wizarding world has been kept secret from him. And he says, "Do you mean to tell me," he growled at the Dursleys, "that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought that this was going a bit far. He had been to school, after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know some things," he said. "I can, do math and stuff."
I was surprised that wasn't one of your favorites. Yeah, I thought for sure it would be.
That's definitely my honorable mentions. It's my number 1 honorable mention. I thought that was so funny. The other honorable mention is in Diagon Alley, when they are going through the Gringotts, basically the Escape from Gringotts ride. Yeah. And, Harry says, "I never know," Harry called to Hagrid over the noise of the cart. Oh, yeah. "What's the difference between a stalagmite and a stalactite?" "Stalagmite's got an M in it," said Hagrid. "Don't ask me questions just now. I think I'm going to be sick." That was so fun. I think that's even funnier than the Great and Forge thing. It's just not as memorable, but that is so funny to me. And then my final honorable mention is, this one's super dark, y'all. This one's from Voldy.
Oh, man.
Right? So he says, "See what I've become," the face said, "mere shadow and vapor. I have form only when I can share another's body, but there have always been those willing to let me into their hearts and minds." Ooh. And I liked that a lot because I think it teaches a lot, and it evoked for me, when you read like Tolkien's mythology of Middle Earth, he talks about how, and I think it's very much the same in our world, evil cannot like create anything. It can only corrupt what is good. That's how evil, like when, in our like Christian theology, God made the world and said it was good. We don't believe matter is evil.
About that as well.
Yeah. We think this earth is good. and everything that was made was good. But evil is created when it is corrupted, or when good is corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Voldemort to say, like, I don't exist on my own, I have to steal from another, and there are people who are willing to let me in. That was not to end on that deep of a note, but I thought that was a pretty sick line.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are my honorable mentions. Emily, what's your honorable mention?
Okay. One of my honorable mentions actually was already spoken about, but it was the "Are you a witch or not?"
Yeah.
I just love that moment because, like we said, it also shows that like Ron is the only one who grew up not in a Muggle family. Like,
Yeah.
it's obvious. Like,
So
they're
he
like,
would never think to start a fire with wood.
like, magic, hello?
Because you can even get it from Harry in that moment that he might not be thinking in terms of magic.
He's
So
like,
just
what
to
do we
start a
do?
fire. you
Yeah.
know?
And then my second one was, it's very simple, but Alas, Earwax.
Mhm, mhm.
Just iconic. Like, we love it.
And the way he acts it, Richard Harris,
Yes.
so good.
We love Richard Harris in this household. And then my last one, Mars is Bright Tonight.
I love it. That is such a funny moment.
They all just come up.
And then Hagrid's like, we've heard.
But I like when Hagrid says,
He's like,
but have you seen
running
anything?
centaurs.
So he says, Mars is bright tonight. And Hagrid's like, yeah, but have you seen anything unusual? And he goes, it's unusually bright.
he said, "Oh, ruddy stargazers." I think is what he says.
Jesse, what's your honorable mention?
Okay, I'll have two. So this scene, also an icon in the movie, when they figure out who Nicholas Flamel is, and she's like, Hermione says, "I never thought to look in here," she whispered excitedly. "I got this out of the library weeks ago for a bit of light reading." "Light?" said Ron. But Hermione told her to be quiet, and she looked something up and started flicking frantically through the pages, muttering to herself. And I just love that scene when she like sets this heavy book on the table. And I'm like, oh, so relatable.
I love the like look she gives Ron, because she doesn't really respond when he says
Yeah,
it. She
that
just like
was
gives him this
side-eye.
like side eye. And he was
Yeah. Yeah, which you're like, that is too impressive for an 11-year-old.
That was their the trial scene. You know, like the chemistry scene that they had for all three of those actors.
Oh,
Because you see
yeah.
that clip of
Uh-huh.
the three and freaking Daniel looks like a baby. in
Yes,
that one.
they do.
But especially him, like he looks so young.
Okay,
Any
so
other
that,
one?
and then my other one, and this is just, it's just part of the crux of the whole series, but it's at the end, and Dumbledore's answering Harry's questions, and he asks why Quirrell couldn't touch him. And then he says, "Your mother died to save you. If there's one thing Voldemort cannot understand, it is love. He doesn't realize that love, as powerful as your mother's for you, leaves its own mark. No, not a scar, visible sign. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved us is gone, it will give us some protection forever." And I just love that whole idea, especially now that I have a baby son, and it like hits differently, because as a mom, you look at that baby and I'm like, yeah, I would die for him. And I understand now that powerful feeling that is like central to this whole book, is like this love that the good people have that Voldemort and the bad people can never understand. And so I just love that. It's sweet.
Yeah.
love that.
All right, and now on to our number ones. So our number ones, my number one favorite line of this whole dadgum book. It's we've said the beginnings of it, so I'll say the whole thing. It's the Dumbledore talking to Harry at the end. So Harry's freaking out about the fact that Nicholas and his wife Perenelle are going to die, and Dumbledore says, "To one as young as you, I'm sure it seems incredible, but to Nicholas and Perenelle, it really is like going to bed after a very, very long day. After all, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. You know, the stone was not really such a wonderful thing. As much money and life as you could want, the two things most human beings would choose above all. The trouble is, humans do have a knack of choosing precisely those things that are worst for them." Like, I don't know if you've seen that meme of the guy like writing and there's fire coming off his pencil, but that's like JK in this moment of writing those lines. Just fantastic. Like, there's like three different cool things that could all be one-liners in that sentence or in that paragraph. But yeah, if you've lived a good life, this is funny because we're all like 20 somethings talking about my hope is, and what I've heard from older people is like, once you've lived a good life and you don't have there's like not any regrets, because I'm sure we all have regrets, but whenever you reach the finish and you've done what you set out to do, and you have your ducks in a row and all that stuff, it's like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. And, you know, I've talked to a few old people, especially as a pastor, who just moments, hours, or days before their death are just saying, yeah, I'm ready to move on. And so that's, again, very deep, very powerful. Love that line. It's my favorite line of it. I dropped my book.
Disrespect.
My favorite line of the book. I'm trying not to move in this chair because you can hear all the. Yeah. But
We can
Emily.
just cut this part out while I cough.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't ask. I'll wait. Emily, what's your favorite line? I'm gonna keep all that.
So actually, my favorite line was the part where Dumbledore is talking about how Harry's mom died to save him.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to highlight like the part I think that resonated the most with me. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever. It is in your very skin. And I think that's just going to resonate with everybody. But like, as someone, I don't have children, but like I've lost people in my life, knowing that no matter how I've lost them or like where they are now, that love is still in me and that love still protects me. And I can channel that love when I need it. You know what I mean? It's like such a beautiful thing. And I think that's also a good message for children who like don't have parents, or like their parents left them, or they lost a parent somewhere along the way. I think it's something that will resonate with anyone for whatever situation, whether you're a parent or whether you've lost parents or whatever. But I just love it. I think that's like, that is my like fire with the pen meme line.
Right.
Like, I just love that line.
Very good. And your number one, Jessie?
Yes, so I'll reread it. My number one is...
You said that was like so like disheartened. I guess I'll say it since somebody already said it.
I'm getting over a cold, and so I have like some residual stuff that I'm trying to cough out, and my throat was stuck. I started saying that, so that's why it sounded like that. But so he says, they're in the with the Mirror of Erised, and Dumbledore says, "It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Remember that." And I just think that is such good advice, because especially in today's, so many people live through books and video games and like I know, I won't even say
TV shows.
Yeah, TV shows. Like people live vicariously through so much in our society because
it's easy to do.
It's so easy, and then they don't I won't say in case this person ever listens to this podcast, but I know someone that like doesn't live. They just are on their phone 24/7. They don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. They don't work. They're just on their phone, on social media, on the internet, reading things, and that's their whole life. And I'm like, that would be so miserable. And as much as I love books, and it's so nice to sit down and read, but don't forget to live your own life, and don't forget to go out and have a family and have your friends and visit great places and have your own adventures, and not just have adventures through a video game.
It makes me think at the end of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, my wife and I just did a rewatch recently.
Nice.
At the very end, one of the two male protagonists, he goes off on a train and he leaves his love interest, and they have like, and spoiler alerts for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, but they have like he basically proposes, and she, in that final moment before he leaves, and she's like, yes. And so he leaves on the train, and she's watching him go away, and she's standing there watching the departure, and one lady behind her says like, these men always leaving us, da 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 da, you know, very like of the times type of dialogue. But I do like her response. She says, that's all right. men who just sit around are boring. I was like, gosh, dang, she's taking shots. And it was, men who just sit around doing nothing are boring. And Bailey loves that line. Like, man, that's Arakawa taking a shot at some of the manga readers being like, listen, I'm so glad you enjoyed this, but don't forget, like, this is like seasoning on your life. Like, this is, or stuff to use in your life. This is not your life. And that's difficult for me to remember at times too, being the massive Potter fan that I am, Lord of the Rings fan or anime fan. I love living in these worlds, but what I love more is, like you said, time with the family and those real adventures. And it's easy for me to say that right now when I have certain things, but for some people, it's certainly hard when the pieces haven't come together yet. And so the fake worlds are more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But the goal is to make it to where it's not
go out and get your people. If you don't have them yet, like, go out and find those things if you don't have them yet, because they're worth way more.
And if you need those people, you can write into theretoldpodcast@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer your email. That's all our number ones.
Yep.
Very good. Fantastic. So we have reached the end of that segment. Now we're going to move on to our favorite chapter. Should I go first?
Yes.
Okay. I had like 3 that were all up in the air that I wasn't sure which ones. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say like 1 and 2-ish kind of. Okay. I'll say probably if you were to force me, I'd say Diagon Alley is my favorite chapter. It's so whimsical. It's so fun. It's the beginning. Like, Harry is just ushered into this world. And it's also really cool given the fact that there is Universal and we get to go see this place now and almost like live it too. And when you first go there, you're literally Harry because this is your first experience in something like this. And so it makes it a little more real to you as the reader now. And we started off this podcast, episode 1, like we said this, of the whimsy. The whimsy is the best. It's the thing we love the most about this series. And the whimsy is going hard in the paint in Diagon Alley. You're introduced to so many cool things. It's lighthearted. It's fun. Aside from that dumb butt Malfoy and Madame Malkins, it's a great time. I even love when Harry dismisses Malfoy in that moment because, when he says the insult about Hagrid, Harry goes, I think he's brilliant.
Yeah.
And then they just go off. It's a great chapter. So that's definitely my favorite. And then my close second, I won't say it in case it's somebody else. I'll wait. So, okay. Emily, what's your favorite chapter?
My favorite chapter is Mirror of Erised.
That was my second favorite.
It's a good one, isn't it?
I know,
I just love that chapter, and I think it's a heavier chapter too. Like, you're really facing like Harry seeing his parents and his family, and he's like, wow, like, this is my heart's desire. And he goes back and until Dumbledore kind of like warns him, like, you'll waste away here wanting if you continue. So don't come back here. But I don't know. I just love that. I think it's very meaningful to me. Again, as like, if you've lost people in your life and you're going to sit in front of that mirror all day, like, it's just a good chapter.
Were you looking for another chapter?
I was going to keep it. I'm going to keep it. Okay. So yes, the Mirror of Erised is also my favorite. But it's for a different reason, so that's what I'm going to keep it. I was flipping through and being like, is there another chapter that I can talk about? But no, I love it because it's also the Christmas chapter. And I just love Harry Potter Christmas vibes.
Yes.
Is the best, okay? And just the imagery of the castle for Christmas, and Harry finally gets a holiday away from the Dursleys, and he's like, heck yeah, I don't have to go home for Christmas. And I just love it. And I love that he gets his first real Christmas presents from the Weasleys and Hagrid and Dumbledore. And he just feels so loved. And so that it's a happy chapter. It has my favorite line. And then also another honorable mention line. Can I throw in?
Go for it.
Again, when they're still looking for Nicholas Flamel, and Ron says to Hermione, oh, and you can ask your parents if they know who Flamel is. Ron said, it'd be safe to ask them. very safe, as they're both dentists. And that's just another. So it's just like a fun chapter of good interactions between all the friends and Christmas magic at Hogwarts.
Yeah, I love Christmas at Hogwarts so much. It's like Bailey and I, when we would go to Universal, we always went during her fall break. But there was one time I went over Christmas break, and I thought, I have to come back to Universal over Christmas every year, because Christmas at Hogsmeade and in Hogwarts is so wonderful. It's the most amazing thing ever. And
beautiful.
What?
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. They got the never melting snowman sitting up there. But yeah, very Christmassy. It's very chill chapter too. Like it's kind of devoid of conflict, really. And they get to have fun. They have the Christmas dinner. There's a little bit of smooching going on. We get Quirrell getting hit with snowballs on the back of his turban. It's very sentimental. I liked in my episode with Ryan and Austin made the joke of, because one of my favorite lines is when it says Harry stared hungrily into the mirror, like he got as close as he could, and Austin was like, could you imagine if he got a little too close, pushed it over, the mirror fell over, and oh no, my parents are dead again. I was like, jeez. So anyway, I also, just a quick shout out, I did like Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that as my backup in case I was
it's such a one-off chapter, so to itself.
It's like the beach episode.
Yeah, that's what she said in the podcast. I love, that's a perfect phrasing for it. It's the beach episode.
Yeah.
So now we'll get into the best main character. Now, here's what I did with this one. For me personally, I did best main that was not Harry. Because he's always my favorite, and I think he does the most. And then I guess you could throw in Ron and Hermione, and I'm sure.
Oh, well, then what's your definition of main character?
Yeah.
Well, I know, right? Because
I thought by main character you mean choose Ron, Hermione, or Harry.
Yes.
They are the main characters.
I kind of thought like main character is like the main cast in the movies and in the book of these people you see multiple times and have an impact on the story. Oh. So you got your Dumbledores, your Snapes.
Okay, then what do you mean by side characters? Because now I could change my answer.
That's all right. That's all right. Like this is just we'll say both best main and side. Like it's a for funsy thing.
Okay.
The side characters, it was people who are hardly ever spoken about.
Okay, we have different definitions.
That's okay. Fantastic. We'll do it that way. I said my favorite or my best main character was Hagrid. I loved how much he contributed to the story. He welcomes Harry into this world. He goes and picks him up. He gives them all the info they need, essentially, in order to. He also gives the enemy the info, but he gives them the info they need in order to get to where they got to go. And I think he's like Harry's true, like adopted dad almost in these earlier books, at least. It kind of changes roles to another person later, but in the first two books, it's very much his incredibly loving uncle is what I would call Hagrid. And he's my favorite main character, best main character of this story. So.
Even though he has a drinking problem?
Even though he has a drinking problem. Actually, I'm going to go with Jessie in case you say the same thing. So we're gonna go around this way.
Well, I know, because now I'm like changing my answer. Because by main character, I thought you meant pick one of the trio.
That's fine.
In that case, but I'll change. Because in that case, it would be Hermione. Mm-hmm. And like you said, she's a fan favorite. Now Emily's like, you took mine. But so I won't talk about Hermione as my favorite. Because
No, you can. I think you should.
No, obviously, Hermione is my Ravenclaw spirit. But if my other favorite character that I'll go with as my main is Neville. I love Neville, and I love him.
Why is it always me?
He's just so adorable and dopey, and his character growth is the best. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in this whole book, we go from the beginning of him being the toadless boy to the end, him being like, oh, I'll fight you, to like keep them from losing house points from Gryffindor. And then we also get the Quidditch fight where he takes on Crabbe and Goyle.
I love that.
I just love this. And like, cause he's like, I'm not a Gryffindor. Why did the Sorting Hat put me in Gryffindor? And then obviously we know, spoiler, in the end of the in the 7th book, which is one of my favorite things, is when Neville, all his grandmother has always wanted him to be a hero like his parents, who fought against Voldemort and were great wars, and he's always been a bit of a disappointment to his grandmother, but she loves him anyway. And then the last book,
Same.
for the battle at Hogwarts, and Neville is fighting so courageously, and he ends up being the one with the sword in the end. And his grandma comes to the castle to fight in the Battle of Hogwarts, and she goes, "That's my grandson."
Oh, I forgot about that.
And it's just the sweetest moment. And so Neville is my favorite main side character.
Oh, you're the technicality.
And I we can talk more about this later, but one of my least favorite things about the movie is that they take Neville out of so many.
Slow to roll. We'll get there. I've completely forgot about that moment with his grandma. When I do my read-throughs or my listen-throughs, I always get like halfway through book 7, and then I just go back to book 1. Like, it's maybe 1 in every 4 or 5 that I actually finish book 7.
Wait, why is that?
I think it's just because I don't know. I'm like,
It's hard.
Well,
Is
for
it
one,
wandering in the forest? Because that part is hard for me to get through.
I don't mind it. I don't feel like it's as long as people talk about or complain about. But a lot of it is I just miss the fun whimsy of the earlier books.
Yeah.
But then I'm in the middle of book 3 going, I want them to be adults.
Yeah.
so then I'm in a rush to get to that moment, and then the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
But then when I finally do finish it, it's that maximum existential feeling of I just finished it.
Yeah.
It's over. People couldn't see what I did, but
I do. When I get to the end of book 7, I'm like, what do we do now?
Pick up book 1.
Run it back. Your favorite?
Okay. Well, it's Hermione.
Fantastic.
Now I feel like it's like a basic
No, it's
answer.
not a basic answer. I'm just dumb and difficult. All right.
I feel like as a girl, Hermione was always just my favorite, like immediately off the bat, because
Hermione.
Don't you dare with me. Because she's smart, she's self-assured, she's strong. She has these strengths where it's like some things it's like she could do this herself. Like and she doesn't even need the other two. And I think for a role model for like young girls, it's great. I love her strengths and her weaknesses. And
Yeah, I like that she's not perfect.
yeah, I love that about her, actually, that she's kind of a little vindictive and she can be kind of like a little bit too much. But I love to see a woman who's too much. I really do. Like, it just makes me happy. And in these books, we see this character flaw a lot because she's like new to this thing. She wants to be perfect at it. She wants to be like, look at me, I can do it. I have a space here. I'm allowed to be here. And she kind of overdoes it, and she realizes that she's able to pull back because of Harry and Ron grounding her. And it's just nice to see like her make these friends, but they still love her, but they know that when she loses, it's good for her. It's like they're not trying to change who she is, at least not anymore, even though they found her annoying. And they sometimes do in the other books too, but it's like they love her for who she is regardless.
And then I would ask your favorite side character. We'll start with you.
Oh my gosh.
Microphone this way.
Okay, I wrote Neville because like to me I was like not trio.
Yeah.
But I'm
that's
gonna
fine.
pivot to something else because
Okay.
I wrote something else with an LOL next to it.
No way.
Draco. Yeah. Yes,
He's
listeners.
like just within the main cast.
But he doesn't have a lot of screen time.
You know how much hate you're going to get for calling Draco a side character?
Girl, no, y'all, because I'm #1 fan. Like, don't worry, it's me. I think like he's so funny. Like his quips like are so good. He's so mean, but I be giggling. I'm sorry.
I'm doing book 2 right now. I just recorded the chapters 3 and 4 of book 2, and he at one point he says to Ron when they're in Flourish and Blots, Ron goes like, surprised to see Harry in here, and he goes, Not surprised as I am to see you in a store. Your family going to go poor for a month to pay for your stuff? It's like, gosh, dang.
Savage
He's
version.
so good with it, and I just imagine him like in his little room. He's got a notebook of all his like roasts, and he's like planning it out. Like the amount of time and effort he puts into bullying these people, it's like unwarranted. He's clocking in for work. he's so good at it too. Like I just think it adds a little spice because he can get bullied by a grown adult, and I'm like, okay, hate Snape, but then like bullied by someone his age, I'm like, hilarious. Love it.
And your favorite side
Yes.
character?
But changing the definition of side characters.
Doesn't she feel like a main character? Though?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
I think, what side characters did you want? Like Winky?
I think that level.
Winky is one of my favorites.
Although that's funny because in her episode she calls Winky the main character.
I think he's the main character. But yeah, so obviously McGonagall is great. But for more obscure side characters, I love Flitwick and Firenze.
Mm-hmm.
I think Flitwick is hilarious, and I think he's a great wizard and doesn't get like a lot of props. But I just think about he has good moments in the first book, but there are some really memorable moments later, such as when Fred and George create their catastrophe for Umbridge to deal with, and Flitwick totally capable of making everything go away, and he doesn't. He just leaves it there.
And I like that even after he makes it go away, he leaves a corner.
Yes,
You
and
know,
like
just-
dedicates it to them. And so I love that Flitwick is just like this jolly guy that just really appreciates some good magic.
I wonder if in Hogwarts Legacy, there's that one hallway that's like the stink hallway that you can walk through. And I wonder if that's meant to be an ode to that.
Maybe, but because it's before.
True, but they do homages like
Yes.
that. So, listen, guys. I said my stipulations, but I even kind of tweaked it a little bit. So, this is my favorite side character. You could call him a main character. Because he's incredibly prominent in the chapters that he's in, but he's only in like 3 chapters. But it's Vernon. And it's funny because he's literally the only other character with a POV chapter.
Yes.
You know, like, in this book.
First one. That first chapter through his perspective is so good too.
He's just so funny to listen. I think in our episode we pointed it out, but the moment where he's just thinking about how to talk to Petunia about this, he's like, should I do it? Nah. And then he starts to, and he says what he's going to say, and she freaks out. He goes, that didn't work. Let's change tact and try another route. You know, it's just really funny.
The inner workings of his mind.
The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma.
Which, okay, another honorable mention line is when he's seeing all the wizards celebrating.
Mm-hmm.
He hurried to his car and set off for home, hoping he was imagining things, which he had never hoped before because he didn't approve of imagination.
Right.
I just thought that was so funny.
So yeah, I'd say he's my favorite side, but if you didn't count him as a side because he's technically has a POV, I would also give a strong shout out to Pavarti Patil.
Okay.
Simply because there's so many moments in this book that if a person were to just say something, it would fix the situation entirely. Like if somebody were to just speak up and explain. And there's that moment where Hagrid or where Harry is being taken away by McGonagall, and after he rides his broom and catches the thing, right before he does that, Pavarti is one of the only ones who stands up to Malfoy to protect Neville and Harry. But in the moment where McGonagall comes to pick him up, she like is explaining what's going on. And so it's kind of odd to me that this random person that we don't really hear about anywhere else is sticking up for these boys. So
Yeah.
shout out to Pavarti. And there we go. Those are favorite best side and main characters. Now the next one I'll do is best magical object or creature. It could be either or. So if it's a magic, like, you know, we got our fluffies, we got our, what's cool about this book is that so much is on the table because it's the first time for anything. I'll go first. I went with an object. I'd say best magical object. I almost went with the robe, or the cloak of invisibility. Didn't go with it because I was like, it's got it. That's more important later. I think for this book specifically, it's the Mirror of Erised. I like that one the most. I think it does the most in this. It's doing the most work. We get our awesome Christmassy chapter with it, amazing moments of Harry in front of it. We get so many good lines that come out of it. And then later, when the stone is hidden inside of it in such a way that only Harry can get it. So that to me is the best magical object slash creature of Sorcerer's Stone. And we're going to keep going with her in case you steal it, you greedy thief.
No, I'm going as base as it gets. What excites me the most is wands. Wands are the coolest thing. Okay, so I just love, and another shout out to my fellow Ravenclaw, Garrick Ollivander. I just love the lore behind them and just the different wood types and the idea that there's magic in the wand and that it chooses the wizard. And I just think that's so cool. And it's just the one point of customization that every wizard has their own unique wand. And so I think wands are super cool.
Super cool.
Super cool.
Emily.
I want to have an honorable mention here.
Okay.
The Christmas crackers are so
yes.
cool.
Oh, that is such a good call out. That is a good call out.
I want one, like a whole chest set. Come on.
Pull it up. Wow.
Like, that's awesome.
I
But
love magic.
my actual choice is pretty basic. Cloak of Invisibility.
Yeah.
I just think it's so helpful. Like, they would have been in trouble so much without it.
And the one time they get in trouble is when they forget it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think it I don't know if it's the most important in any book, but it's always like second most.
Yeah.
You know, it's always, so it deserves a mention.
And that's the nature of the cloak is it's
to fly under the radar.
Yeah, it's second to the death stick and the resurrection stone.
I don't like calling it the death stick. That's such a terrible.
So I just did that because
you couldn't remember the name.
I just have mom brain moments where words fall out. And
yes.
No, that's baller.
I was listening to the newest Percy Jackson book, and in that book, his guidance counselor is a Nereid, who is it's a water spirit, and so she from the ocean, she has tentacles for hair kind of thing. And at one point, please forgive me because no amount of context could help, and I can't quite remember what the context is. I just remember at one point she was described as emitting ink from her tentacles, and it was called the Doom Squirt.
Oh.
And I was like, that is the worst verbiage that could ever be used.
Straight to jail.
The dreaded Doom Squirt. And I was like, he wrote that book, Rick Riordan, last year. So I was like, you don't have any excuse for using that verbiage. Anyway, what were we talking about? The cloak. The cloak.
Yeah, the cloak. It's awesome and I love it. And there's more to it, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever gotten an actual cloak that they do you can do with the photo app where it's a green screen and it hides you?
Oh, like they sell it at Barnes & Noble, right? No.
We should do that.
We should do that.
Oh, yeah. I have. Oh, yes. My friend has that and I have a picture of me.
Does it work?
Yes. Well, yeah. So you take a picture with your phone and then your body's gone.
Wait, is it like a green screen?
Yeah.
I don't know how it shows what's behind you, though. Does it just fill in the image?
Yeah. Actually, I don't know. I don't remember how they did it. I just remember that we have a picture and if
it's magic.
Yes, it's tech magic. No, I can send you the picture later. I'm not gonna sit here and look for it, but
okay, then we have two more, I think. We have our worst and best movie changes, and then we have which house should have won. Oh, and then we're closing with most magical moment, I think. And then is that? Yeah. So let's go with, we also have worst moment or most hated character. We got a lot of stuff in this episode.
Yeah.
If we don't have stuff for all, if you guys didn't get to all of it, because again, I messaged you all the stuff for it this week. So you 2 days ago. And basically you 2 days ago, I kind of told you, you knew you were coming on, but not the content. So what should we do? Best and worst movie changes?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Best and worst movie changes. I think the worst change, it's mentioned so much that I almost want to edit it out of episodes because it's said probably 4 times. And the only reason I don't is because it leads to another conversation point. But it's mentioned almost every episode, no Peeves.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't include Peeves, especially, you could have just done what you did with the later movies and just forgotten that ghosts were there. It's like in like movie 4 and 5, I don't even think you see a ghost in those movies.
But then a ghost is important in the last one.
Yeah, in the 6th movie or 7th movie. But 4, 5, and 6, I don't remember a single ghost in any of those movies.
And it creates issues for the later movies because Peeves advances the plot. So every time that Peeves moves the plot, they have to change the movie to lead into what it's supposed to, Yeah.
But I would say definitely that's the worst change, getting rid of him, especially because and like we've said before, they even casted him. They even filmed scenes with him.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that like they went out of their way, the HBO people, to say, he's going to be in the series. Don't you worry. He's going to be there. All right. Worst movie change.
Okay.
I think we already.
Yes. My worst movie change is cutting Neville out of so many scenes where he was in, and specifically the 2 that I mentioned, his fight in the Quidditch stands with Crabbe and Goyle. I love that moment. And then going into the Forbidden Forest, because in the movie they just have Ron, Hermione, and Harry go, but Neville is the one. It's Neville, Harry, Hermione, and Draco. And I wish they kept Neville, and I get because they were trying to have, because you don't have as much time to build the chemistry between 3 main characters, and so they were putting Ron in. But
I understand keeping Ron in there. Perhaps they could have made like just added Neville in, like kept just added Ron instead of removing like switching them. You could have just added another person.
I feel like in the movies, because you see so much of Neville being unsure, Neville getting bullied, but you don't get to see his change in the movies, so that when he stands up to them in the common area in the end, it's like, it's not as gradual. It's just like, oh, Neville grew a backbone, because you don't get you're worth 12 of Malfoy,
Which again, they filmed that scene and they just cut it.
Yeah. So it's just not as, it's like, oh, Neville's a wimp. And then, oh, Neville's standing up to Ron, Harry, and Hermione. You don't get this progression of Neville growing in confidence. So,
yeah.
There you go. Your worst movie change.
Mine was taking out the midnight duel part.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It does like, what was it? I was in the new Last of Us episode. I'm not going to spoil things, but there's essentially a scene with kind of bad writing where it's this one girl is looking for Joel, and the way she finds him is she just happens to run into him. And it's very much like, that's sloppy writing. That's kind of lazy writing.
Yeah.
And what happens in the movie, it's somewhat lazy. Like they did say that the stairs like to change. And so it does make sense, but this is just so much more grand.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And it's like the movie, they're like, oh, here we are.
Whoopsies.
We walked in here. And then I feel like this adds more of that like life at Hogwarts feel, and like the relationship between them and Malfoy and like.
And Neville, because he's there too.
Yeah, and there is a lot of just the sense of Harry trying to prove himself coming from the Muggle family, and he's trying to like, duke it out with the wizards and prove that he's not just a famous boy that knows nothing.
And I stand by what I said in my episode with Dusk of a second makes no sense.
Yes.
Because it's like, wait a minute. If you die, you lose. Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know, like historical context as well in Britain, but I know in America, a lot of times your second would try to help smooth it over before you had to fight. And then also your second would be there to get you medical attention when you got shot. Wow. So your second would be the one that's like, all right, because the doctor would turn around. You know this from the Hamilton play, of course. They'd have a doctor, and the doctor would turn around, so he had plausible deniability. And so a lot of times the second was there to help try and smooth things out. or help with your medical care after you were shot.
So perhaps Ron just didn't explain it well.
Yeah.
Or he didn't. Or the wizards do it differently.
And,
They're like
Ron's still an
Multiple
11-year-old
deaths.
boy. What does he know about a duel?
He knows a lot.
His brothers told him the sorting hat that was
Right.
painful, you know? So
Now on to our best changes. And I already said mine before the podcast, but the best change is surfing Harry during the Quidditch match against Slytherin. Instead of just, I'm like, what happens in the book is his broom starts working again, and then he's like, I'm good. And he makes a dive and catches it and falls on the ground and like spits it out of his mouth. But in the movie, he like gets his broom back in gear. I'm not going to do that. But and he starts to fly around and he gets close to it, stands up. Oh, and it looks so sick. It's one of the most iconic shots of the movie of Daniel Radcliffe, hand outstretched. I was Harry in that moment so much on my trampoline as a kid, just like, I'm going to get this next. And then I pretend to fall on my trampoline and all that stuff. But yes, that is the best movie change. Love it. I'm going to go this way now. Emily.
Oh my goodness.
Your best movie change.
I had something and I'm changing it because I'm just thinking in my head right now. There were times where I had complaints how they did the Draco Harry meet in the movie because they obviously meet at Madame Malkin's originally. But I think as far as movie goes and like being precise about communicating who a character is and what they're about, I think they actually did a really good job.
It's very smooth.
It's smooth, and it also gives this like pathway that Harry could take. It's like if he shakes his hand, what path could he have taken from there? And so that's like the moment where he's like, you could be powerful and great. And like Voldemort gives him this option at the end. You can be powerful, you can be great, or you can be great in a way that's more kind and giving.
Yeah, I like that a lot especially when you think of in terms of what a movie scene does or set of scenes. And so Diagon Alley is really set up to be just wonderful, fun-filled. And so it's serving that purpose. And then you kind of have just a little bit of mystery with Ollivander at the end. But to add that scene of just a douchebaggery doesn't kind of fit. But then putting Draco there in the moment where he meets Harry on the stairs in the movie, making that Gryffindor Slytherin divide much more sharp right before the sorting. I think that's very well done.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, because I wasn't sure what mine would be until you just said something. I was, that's what it is. Okay, so mine is, I think the best movie change is in Ollivander's when Harry's getting his first wand. So in the book, none of the other wands do anything. And all he does is swish it and nothing happens. But in the movie, every time he swishes a wand, things go crazy. And so there's like the wands fall off the shelf, things break. And that's a really funny moment in the movie and is kind of like crazy because you're like, whoa, magic. And that's like a really cool introduction of wizardry, of things haphazardly going wrong in the movie that's not in the book.
Yeah, I like when he's with the very first one. I looked it up today because I thought a question you might ask me is what type of wand did Harry first try out? I thought she might do that. So I looked it up. I did look up that one, but it says he barely lifted his arm before Ollivander went, no, not that one. And like nothing happens with the others. So I do think that makes it so much more magical and wonderful.
It embellishes the whimsy for sure. Also,
embellish the whimsy. Hashtag embellish the whimsy.
If y'all have done the Ollivander's experience at Universal, oh my gosh, it's so fun.
Of course, I've never been chosen.
I legit thought about making that my proposal to Bailey when I was going to go. I had a whole plan, and it was going to be that. And one day I'll probably tell the whole story, but I'll just tease listeners for now. But the original plan was I was going to take her into Ollivander's, and they were going to work with me. Of like, they had the ring set up or something like that, and she would be picked. She waves a wand, crap happens. Waves another one, crap happens. And when she waves the third, that's when I would propose, and that would be the magical moment. I called them. They said they don't do that. Yeah. So I had to change it up.
Would they have allowed you to just like stick the ring on the final one? I wonder. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. He might have. Imagine how bad it would have been though if he like forgot, because there are like so many on the shelves. Yeah. We're just sitting there.
I wonder how they picked the one for you, because the one they picked for me, I was like, yeah, you got me. Like you read me.
I think it's just random selection.
Maybe. Although like they have that like magic skull one that's like, give that to like a 6-year-old. I mean, the only reason I got to do it is because it was during COVID. So they were taking people in your own pod. So there's like 3 of us, and whoever we wanted to get to do it, we just to the front, and he'd be like, "Yeah."
You were like telling your friends, "I'm going."
No, they were like, "She's the one. Like, she's the only one that cares."
All right, so that's best and worst movie changes, and then let's do this one, and then we'll do the last one. Worst moment / most hated character. Again, one you could do either or. This one was probably the hardest one for me, especially because I got to this point and I was like, I'm tired of writing things down. So, but I really wanted to think of like a moment that I just hated, like writing wise in the book, that I wish just didn't happen. But all I could think of were things that just were good writing that just bothered me. Like I go, I hate that character. I hate them doing
Which is her doing her job.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as far as that stipulation goes of moments that just bothered me, and I was like, I hate that character. I think I mentioned one before, Malfoy talking crap about Hagrid and Madame Malkins. Can't stand that. Hate the moment where he's pooping on my glorious King Hagrid, my favorite main character. And then also, I do think the worst moment in the book, so a character's lowest point, is my other glorious King Vernon. You know, and he's been so wonderful, so funny. All right, terrible person, but so funny. He reaches a point where it's like, there's no more grace for you. And it's when he just, in front of this 11-year-old boy, talks about how his parents deserved what they got.
Yeah, they got what they deserve.
Like that, what are you talking about? Oh, I hated that. I hated that moment so much because it was such a fun bit to be like, I love Vernon. He's so funny. And then you get to hear him, it's like, I can't do anything with you anymore.
I don't care how much you dislike a person, to tell them that like your parents, who I just didn't like, they weren't like, your parents weren't Adolf Hitler, you know? But to just say like, yeah, your parents, they were better off dead, if you ask me.
That's terrible.
Mm-hmm. So that's my worst moment. So my most hated character is also my most favorite character, Vernon.
Wow.
Emily.
My most hated character, and I'm gonna say sorry, and I know I'm a hypocrite, is Snape.
Thank God.
What did you think it was gonna be?
I thought you were gonna drop Harry. I thought you were gonna say Harry. Don't you do that to me? I'm just
saying, like, and I know y'all are like, oh my God, but you like Draco. Snape is a grown man. He's an adult.
You are in good company, because when I messaged her about this
is my same
thing. She texted me and she was like basically said something like, I hope it's okay me talking about trash about Snape. And I was like, I think Emily agrees.
Like a grown man with a grudge against a person who's not even Harry, and has like, it's just like, you've reached limits that I didn't even think someone could reach. Like,
but Emily, he has just a little bit of Quidditch talent, and it goes straight to his head, and he struts about the castle.
No, it's just
my dad doesn't strut.
Necessary beef, and like picking on a child who actually, I think they could relate to each other a lot with how they grew up.
But Emily, he saved him. Remember, he was about to die on the broom, and he saved him.
Begrudgingly.
I disagree with that very.
Hermione saved him.
I understand plot development. I know why Snape has to act the way he does, even though Snape doesn't know that fact yet. But he's just being like that because he can be. But I'm like, dude, this kid has been abused already. You don't need to add fuel to the fire. He's already like insecure. And I feel like part of that need to prove himself is because he's got this naysayer up in his ear. Like, at least Draco's just a little turd, but like Snape is like a grown adult who's like, you're not good enough.
I thought about including that one line of Harry thought at the opening feast Snape didn't like him. He was wrong. Snape hated him. Is that your least?
Yeah, so mine is Snape, and then I'll just expand further. And on my most hated moment is the Potions Master chapter, when he is just sitting minding his own business in class, and then Potter, says Snape suddenly, "What would I get if I added powdered root of asphodel to an infusion of wormwood?" And then it's like, and even in the movie, you just see Harry is taking, I forget if this is.
He's taking notes.
Yeah, he's taking notes for what Snape is saying. And then Snape thinks he's not listening and then sets out on the attack for him. And yeah, you're a grown man. Okay. You don't know this child. This child has had a horrible life. Has been abused all of his life. So
Snape's had a horrible life.
I don't care. He just had much more time to get over it.
Like Snape has this image of Harry in his mind and projects it onto a child. So Harry is not like, especially in book 1, Harry is not arrogant. There's no part of him in the whole book that is arrogant. You can argue that for some of the later books, but not in book 1. And he has this image of James, and Harry looks like James, and therefore I'm gonna get one over on this child, and I'm gonna get my revenge that I didn't get when I was a kid.
Yeah. I think like the only 2 moments that I think Snape was really justified in his anger towards Harry. One is the beginning of when he first sees him in book 2, when Harry and Ron are talking like they're looking through the windows and they're like, "Oh, Snape's not there. Maybe he got fired. Wouldn't that be awesome?" And Snape appears behind them. So it's like, I get that. I understand why you'd be mad about that. And then when he dives into Snape's memories, like without Snape's permission, that again, totally fair on those 2.
And
but the rest of them,
another point of Snape is that he makes the same mistake that Voldemort makes, because he creates his own worst enemy, because he is the one that created this animosity between he and Harry, because Harry didn't care about him. Harry had no idea. And then he created an enemy in Harry, which is what Voldemort does, creating the prophecy.
I can't remember if I said this on the podcast or if I included it or not, but the thing about Snape that I think is I think it was in our second episode, but I think the reason a lot of people like him is that because this is one of the first book series people read, it's the first time they're introduced to a character that's gray, and that's like fascinating to them. He's like dark gray, but still,
he's like light black.
He's light black.
Like my favorite character, the character that I think is gray in this series, is actually Draco. Like, yeah, and I could come back.
No, I agree with that. And then, like, because even in the end, it's like his family, they just get out of there at the Battle of Hogwarts. You know,
he is the one that, like, talking about Draco specifically. I understand that it's not his fault that he is the way he is, but I may piss people off. He's still the way that he is, and it's still incredibly bothersome. Yeah. Like, I love. There's one girl. I can't remember her name, but she has an Instagram page, and she, I think it's like Magical Emily or something. But anyway, she made a meme of, Draco in the fandom, and it's him like saying all these like nice saucy lines to Hermione of like, and then Draco in the actual canon, "You ugly piece of filth, racist, racist."
Yeah, a bunch of racist slurs.
But anyway, moving on to the last segment, second to last, because then we have our most magical moment. But I would say, what house do you think should have won? So I'm going to say this. I'll in case you didn't quite understand what I meant when I told it to you, I'll say what I think should have won and state my case. Okay. At the very end of the book, we get Deus Ex Dumbledore, coming in and giving them all these points. Yeah. I would like to envision a Hogwarts in which, like, there isn't so many evil shenanigans going on, and it's like a normal year. What happens? So I still think Harry and his friends sneak out and they lose a whole bunch of points. I don't think it's right that they lose 150. So I would not make them lose that much. They'd still lose, but I'd also give them a little bit more for defeating a mountain troll. You know what I'm saying? Like, they definitely earned a little more there. So that's a little more evened out. I genuinely think, though, that Ravenclaw should have won the House Cup this year. And this is my case. It mentions across the books that the Slytherins get points padded on them by Snape. He's always awarding them points for funsies and like without reason and without merit. So they're getting extra points throughout the year. So their lead, I don't think they deserve it. Let me pull up the final scores again. I think
we know it was 472 Slytherin and 482 Gryffindor.
That's right. So the point totals were Gryffindor with 312, Hufflepuff with 352, Ravenclaw with 426, and Slytherin with 472. I don't see a world that Hufflepuff wins. All right. They ain't winning it. I think Gryffindor should be ahead. But I do think with the points padding on Slytherin, I don't think they deserve that much. Ravenclaw did beat Gryffindor. Now, they only beat Gryffindor because, or not only, they definitely won because Harry wasn't there in that match. And in a normal Hogwarts, Harry would have been there. However, I still think they could have won. I think he might have seen Cho and got a little flustered, you know what I'm saying? Let her win. Especially because in book 5, is that right? Book 3. In book 3, when they face each other for the first time, and he has his firebolt, she does the best job of defending against the firebolt. So she will follow him along and cut him off and do all that. So I think she could have handled.
She was playing Harry, not Snape.
And I think she could have handled a Nimbus 2000. So I think Ravenclaw should have won. That's my case.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tag off of that after you explained. I agree. I think Ravenclaw should have won because there's a lot of, and I talked about this with Jonathan, your other guest, but there's a lot of rewarding that happens for breaking rules. And so, as you said, I feel like a lot of Slytherins get points for, just underhanded methods. And if you're trying to reward kids for the behavior you want, half the things Slytherin doesn't serve points, and then Snape pads them a lot, and it's like, so I don't think Slytherin should have won. But then there are a lot of things that like when Dumbledore rewards Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they've broken like half of the school rules. So when they broke one school rule earlier, they lost a ton of points. But when they break more school rules later, which is even encouraged by Dumbledore to an extent, then they get a whole bunch of points. And of course, and a lot of these things too are things that no one should have a right knowing. And so it's like, we do a lot of good things that no one sees. No one else gets points for that. I'm sure there are plenty of students that did great things for their friends in Hogwarts. Dumbledore doesn't reward any of them. So
Dumby.
I agree. If you X out those things from Gryffindor and Slytherin, I don't think Gryffindor would have been in last. Slytherin didn't deserve to win. And we just have Ravenclaw being good and people with integrity and intelligence.
Yeah, I would put Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff. Even though that's my squad. I still think we're a bunch of duffers. Just sitting down there.
Duffers.
Emily, are you going to give us a controversial hot take?
Oh my god, I thought Gryffindor deserved their win. Gryffindor for the win. I really did though. Okay, here's my argument, and I wasn't doing like all the math, but I feel like our houses are like coming out in us right now. It's so funny. So they were already neck and neck for the lead before a lot of points were lost. So if you think about it, they kind of equaled themselves out because they lost. Didn't they each lose 50 points? And then
Slytherin, I don't know. I think Slytherin lost 50. No, she lost 20. She lost 20. That's how many she took away from Malfoy, just 20. But because it was like she thought Harry and Hermione were pulling a prank, it was 50.
50 for, and then wasn't Neville in that too? So they each, 3 of them lost 50, 150. And then in the end, they almost equal themselves out.
And they only gained 10. Or no, 20. They gained 20.
I thought it was 10.
Because Dumbledore awards them 170 points total. So lost 150, gained 170 because it was Ron 50, Hermione 50, Harry 60, Neville 10.
Well, either way, they kind of gained back like what they lost and then a little bit more. And then I said, just given their track record that year, that if Harry had, but like if this was a perfect situation where Harry hadn't have been like knocked out or whatever, if he had played in that Quidditch match, they probably would have won.
I think it all hangs on that.
Yeah, I think
who
so
wins
too.
That Quidditch match wins the cup.
And I think for me, it was just like the theme of the book was Harry was really good off the bat and like maybe a little underestimated by some teams until they played with them. So I don't know if, because Cho at that point, when they did face off, knew what kind of player Harry was. He would have been much newer and like his, you know.
But I don't think Cho would have been on the team because she was a first year, right?
No, she's a second year.
She's a second year.
It's different in the movies.
But she might not have been on the team still because she's a second year.
She's a rookie herself, technically.
Yeah. So I feel like Gryffindor would have had a good chance of winning. So then from that, if those points hadn't have been lost and then gained, it was fair.
Know what? Since you're Gryffindor and you're Ravenclaw, you two should fight right now, and the winner gets to win.
I mean, we can do a Quidditch match. I'm confident.
She's got my win.
She's got mom strength now.
I know, right? Like,
well, there you go. So those are our cases. Yeah. Listeners, write in. Who do you think should have won the House Cup at the end? If it was somewhat of a more normal year and we didn't get Deus Ex Dumby, but also they weren't as severely punished for their crimes. But anyway, final thing, we're wrapping it up. This is the last thing we'll talk about. It is the most magical moment of book one. And so what I mean by that is when you think of book one, what is it you remember? What is it that stands out? What is the thing that strikes you? That might not necessarily mean most magical, but that's kind of how I just chose to phrase it. And so for me, I'm not creaking in my chair. The most magical moment of book one, I have it here. I kind of cheated. I did a movie one and a book one. So movie one is definitely going into Diagon Alley. Walking into Diagon Alley it's both. It's most memorable and most magical. For all the reasons we've stated already for things about Diagon Alley. But I would say for me, most magical moment of the book is the sorting ceremony with the opening feast, because you get one introduction to all that is Hogwarts. You got to see the outside of the castle, but now you're inside. So that whole chapter really is just fantastic with that. But you get the actual sorting going on and people going into different houses, explanations for the houses. You get a singing hat. I love the singing hat.
I know. I love the poems she creates for the hat too.
You have amazing food laid out. And then I didn't include these, but some of my favorite lines are Dumbledore descriptions about him in that chapter. I wrote down classic Dumby in my notes, but what I mean by that is you get that. You also get, it said whenever he stood up in front of them, it said he looked as if nothing made him happier than to see all the students there. And then at the end of the song, when he's conducting the song, he clapped the longest and loudest for Fred and George when they finished. He's just such a good teacher. He gets a lot of flack. People make fun of or attack Dumbledore a lot for many shortcomings, but I think at the true heart of Dumbledore is who he is at the opening ceremony here. Of he's just a guy who denied positions of power, for real reasons, but he denied it. And he chose to be with kids, like teaching, raising the next generation,
like the weaknesses,
and really enjoys it.
The weaknesses that Dumbledore has, he knows them. He knows what his weaknesses are, and he knows that he struggles with them. And so he tries to keep himself away from them, but they still, because he knows that he's super smart and, he would take advantage of power if he had it. And he knows those things. And so he tries to offset them, but I agree with yours.
Emily, your most magical moment.
I'm gonna do movie one and book one because you did.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Go for it.
For me, it's pretty simple for the movie. It's when they're on the boats, and they pan up.
Yes, okay, that was mine too. We think so similarly.
It's just, it's like classic.
Yeah,
it's like quintessential movie one.
The money shot.
The money shot. It really is, and I love that. I think for the book though, mine's a little bit more niche. It's when Harry's looking at himself in the mirror of Erised at the very end with Quirrell, and he feels the stone in his pocket. It's like
interesting.
It's just this mystery thing for me, because with all of the magic throughout the book, there's a spell attached. Like there's things that kind of make it make sense for the most part. But the mirror, you're like, how did that happen? And it's like, how did it happen so perfectly when it needed to, that the mirror just knew that Harry was the one to have the stone? It's just, I don't know. I always thought it was really cool. And then it adds this like element of pressure, because it's now like, oh, Harry has the stone. Like now it's on, because if Quirrell figures it out, he's in deep doo-doo. I mean, he's already in deep doo-doo, but
something I learned from the Tales from Godric's Hollow podcast was in that scene where Quirrell dies. They screw that up, because in the movie, like I think it's cool the way he dies in the movie. I don't have an issue with it until we get to movie 5, and so because Harry's only able to see Thestrals because of Cedric's death.
Yeah,
but in the movie, he saw Quirrell die. He killed Quirrell. You know, I never thought about that before. Like he actually killed this guy, and that's why. Like, so what do you mean he can't see Thestrals? So that is a movie issue, right? I mean, in the book, he doesn't see him die.
Yeah.
In the book, he passes out before Quirrell dies. But anyway, great moment. That's a good call. I would not have guessed that to be somebody's magical moment. It's pretty because it is fascinating magic. Yeah. Jessie.
Yeah. So my movie moment is the same as Emily's, but my favorite book moment, and it's because I like trains. So I love the platform 9 3/4, and I just love the Vernon dropping them off, seeing, you know, all right, go find your platform 9 3/4, and then he meets the Weasleys for the first time, and he gets to see this wonderful wizard family and meet his first friends, and he gets to ride on the train and learn all about magic. And so that's just my favorite. And I love trains, and that's probably where it started. So yeah.
Very good. Well, fantastic. That about wraps it all up. Magical moments all around. We've discussed everything that is amazing about book 1. That's the best of book 1. Thank you for listening, everybody. Glad to finish a whole season. We went through a whole book. Next week should be our Jeopardy episode. Our Jeopardy episode. Excited for that one, for you to hear that. And yeah, that's about all I got. Before we go, anything we want to plug? Emily, anything you want to plug?
When you called me today, I was reading Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yeah. And
I finished it. Plugged in so hard. So good. Y'all read Hunger Games, please. Like the whole series, it's so good.
You know what's funny is the what's her name? Kiera Lewis, the girl who went through the Harry Potter series recently and got like Book Talk famous. She's like the queen of Book Talk, they call her.
Oh.
You might recognize her if you saw her, but she just finished it. And then there's another guy I know who's also kind of Book Talk famous, and they're both starting separately the Hunger Games after having gone through Harry Potter. Now, here's the thing. Great series, but I think they're going to be shocked at how much shorter the Hunger Games is as opposed to Harry Potter. Harry Potter is so much longer. I'm thinking just as far as like being a professional content creator, I was like, I don't know if you're going to get as much content out of this as you're going to like.
Well, they're at like 5 books now. So
that's true. They did add 2 more. So did you read the other one about snow?
Not yet. Yeah. I don't know why that one. I like tried and I was like, oh man, it's rough.
I don't like the idea
of mind.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of a character like that being palatable to me. You know,
that's kind of her point though, which I like a lot.
True, but I don't want to do it. Jessie, anything you want to plug? You better say it this time.
Okay.
You better freaking say it.
I mean, I wrote a book, so I'm self-published. I'm actually working on another one as well, but my first book is called Die Young in the Wild. It's available on Amazon, and it's been over a year now since it came out, and I'm really bad at marketing myself, as because I wouldn't even say that I wrote a book on the first podcast. But yeah, so when I come out with my second one, which is more of like a children's fantasy novel like Harry Potter, hopefully I'll do like the traditional publishing route. But yeah.
And what's the author title name for that?
Oh, my author title is J. Salt Marlowe.
J. Salt Marlowe.
Yeah, so that's a mixture of my maiden name, which is Saltarelli. So
it's not that really something.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, fantastic. Emily, Jessie, thank you for being on here. Listeners, thank you for listening. I don't have a slogan, so get on up out of here. This was fantastic. Goodbye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
And that's it. Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold podcast is produced by me. That's right. I made this.